So something I've been thinking about lately is in regards to how long Pokemon Go is going to last as a game. The reason why I've been thinking that is because it really feels like we're running out of content. So I kind of want to talk about longevity. I want to talk about what it could look like for Pokemon Go to last longer as a game, and whether or not Niantic is going to release something like Pokemon Go 2. So yeah, these are all some things I really want to talk about, and that's pretty much going to be this video. So yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, how's it going everyone? Count Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. So, today is going to be just a kind of a raw discussion video. I'm not necessarily going to be going into any kind of guides or hints or tips or anything like that. I just kind of want to talk about the future of Pokemon Go. Now, I've made plenty of videos on my YouTube channel talking about future content or what I would like to see come to Pokemon Go, but in terms of Pokemon themselves, I really feel like we're starting to approach the end. The reason why I say that is because we've caught up. We're already at Gen 9, and it does seem like with the Go Tour event, it looks like we're reaching the later generations. It really does feel like Pokemon Go is running out of content. I mean, with the Mega Evolutions that are about to come out, Mega Camerupt, as well as Mega Metagross, there's not many Megas to come out. Pretty much the only Megas left is going to be Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y, which I also predict is going to be really soon. Now, in terms of Mega Evolutions, of course, there's a whole bunch of new Megas that are going to come out with Pokemon Legends CA, but I really do feel like aside from Dynamax content, Mega Evolutions, there's really nothing much else. Of course, there is the Terraforms. That's pretty much going to be probably the next thing in Pokemon Go, but I predict it's going to be kind of like Dynamax content where it could be its own thing. And then of course there's stuff like breeding and beauty pageants or what have you. Like there's a whole bunch of other things Niantic could do, of course. But it does feel like we're reaching the end. It doesn't feel like there's any new generations that we could look forward to. Of course, the Pokemon franchise could introduce new generations, but it does feel like we're caught up. It does feel like Pokemon Go has kind of reached its endpoint. I really do think with Pokemon Go, there is a strong possibility that this game could come to an end. And maybe Niantic will release something like Pokemon 2 or Pokemon Go 2. I like that idea. I like the idea of them releasing kind of like a sequel, and it's kind of like their way of just starting from scratch from the beginning. I do not necessarily know if that is something that they ever plan to do. I obviously do not work at Niantic. I don't know like any of the ins and outs. Like some of the employees at Niantic that I've talked to over the years, they've never mentioned anything like that, nor do I ever think they even consider it. But I think it's a possibility because Pokemon Go is essentially going to be done soon. And in terms of gameplay, I do feel like there's just not much else they could do. I think Dynamax content was definitely an interesting idea. It's kind of like its own game mode, its own progression. And then with level 80 coming really soon, that's definitely going to add some longevity to the game. There's going to be some players who are going to continuously play Pokemon Go and find a lot more to do because they're going to want to hit the new level cap. And I'm sure there's going to be some exclusive rewards that are going to be tied to it. So naturally, some players are going to want to level up. But I do feel like there's nothing much else with Pokemon Go. I do feel like for the longest time, there was always something to look forward to. Like there was always something that you know is going to come to the game sometime later on, but it does feel like we're running out of those specific things. Now, there are plenty of things. Like I mentioned earlier, we could have like a beauty pageant mechanic in the future. Maybe it's going to be tied to showcases, or I don't know, maybe we could have Pokemon breeding. That's going to definitely create a new element of gameplay. We have Pokemon like Arceus that still need to come out. And then like I mentioned, the Terraforms, like that's definitely going to be something really cool. But yeah, essentially there's not much else. There's not like a whole generation of Pokemon. Yes, I totally recognize that Gen 10 is going to be announced really soon, probably right after Pokemon Legends ZA, but that's just one generation. Back in the day, it really felt like there was always like a plethora of Pokemon that you could look forward to coming to Pokemon Go, but it doesn't really feel that way anymore. It doesn't really feel like there's something really major that we could look forward to. It just feels like everything is just kind of getting drip fed at this point, and I really do think that Pokemon Go just doesn't really feel that exciting in terms of like anticipation. It's just more so like, what is Niantic going to do with what they currently have? And in some cases, they've been very successful because there's stuff like golden bottle caps, there's stuff like adventure effects, a lot of cool stuff that they've introduced in the past 2 years, but I really do not know where they could go from here. It does feel like for Pokemon Go, like the next 5 years, it's just a huge question mark because what else could they release that's going to have such a huge impact? I really do not know. One of the major things that I do think is going to be probably, I don't know, it might be something that Niantic could look into is maybe like having additional difficulties for raid battles. I think that is something that they should definitely look into. I think I've mentioned this many times, but power creep is kind of a thing in Pokemon Go. A lot of the Pokemon that we have, a lot of the powers that we have is definitely a lot more than when the game first came out. So certain things like raid battles and certain things like PvP, they're so much easier to take on now compared to how it was before. So I think they could add more difficulty to the game. They could add more challenges to the game that will get players to actually work towards something. I think one of the disappointments with the most recent announcement of the new level cap, and it's something that I actually thought was going to be a part of the new level cap, was the fact that we're not going to be able to power up our Pokemon beyond level 50. I really thought that was going to be a part of it, because that would definitely mean we would have to farm up more Stardust, we would have to farm up more candies, just to get our Pokemon maxed out to the new levels. But because they're not getting new levels, there's not much with our Pokemon that we're going to be doing with this new level cap. So I thought that was actually kind of a bit of a disappointment. But at the same time, I also felt like that would contribute to power creep, that our Pokemon would be so much stronger than they were before that certain raid bosses would become trivialized. But obviously that problem is not going to be there. But at the same time, there's not going to be much we're going to be doing with our Pokemon, with our new level caps. I really do think that's something they should look into, because I like the idea of us being able to power up our Pokemon even more, but it's going to cost a tremendous amount of Stardust and also a lot of candy to do that. But they could also add more difficulties to raids to kind of compensate for that increase in power. I really wish they went that direction, because in terms of longevity, it doesn't feel like there's much. Because for someone like myself who has pretty much most of my most used Pokemon fully powered up at this point, there's nothing much else for me to do. Like, I could farm up Stardust, I could look for shinies, I could try to get Shundos during community days, but that's essentially it. There's nothing really that I'm working towards. I think that's a big problem, because if there's nothing for me to work towards, if there's no reason for me to log in every day, if there's no reason for me to farm Stardust, or what have you. I think at this point, the only thing that I'm really doing is farming up experience, because as I farm up experience, I'm gonna get a bit of a head start when it comes to the new level cap, but that's essentially it. So yeah, I think these are definitely things that Niantic should look into. Maybe they already are, maybe they're fully aware that there is a bit of a longevity issue with Pokemon Go, and hopefully they could come up with some things for us to work towards, because right now, there isn't much, and there's not much to look forward to as well. So yeah, that's just some thoughts that I've been having lately, and I just kind of wanted to share it and just record a video talking about these thoughts. Maybe some of you are thinking the same thing. Maybe some of you have started playing the game just recently and you do not feel any of this at all. Like, you have a whole world of Pokemon Go just opened up to you. I kind of envy you, because for myself, it's been a long time since I felt like there's just so much I can get whenever I play Pokemon Go. It just feels like every time I open up the game, it's just a bunch of daily tasks that I have to complete in order to keep up some sort of streak. And then aside from that, there's really not much else. And I'm kind of disappointed by that. But yeah, that's just me. That's just my opinions. Definitely share your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Is there anything in particular that you are looking forward to that I did not mention, or maybe I did mention? And do you feel like there is a longevity problem with Pokemon Go? I would like to know your thoughts. So make sure you share them in the comments below, and let's have a great discussion. And thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload videos. And real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Jinsula channel, the best way you could do that is going to be by joining my Patreon. And if you decide to become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list. So that means for stuff like remote raids, the friendship system, opening and sending gifts, different things like that. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you could do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms you see right now on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow, and you'll have access to some exclusive content. I can't talk right now, and you'll be able to keep up with my daily life. And that's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself today, and I'll catch you all later.